Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. At the outset, I'd like to express our appreciation and thanks to His Excellency David Cameron, Prime Minister of Great Britain, and all the leaders who have come here and who are represented in those delegations at this conference. As I would like to thank His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, as well as the Secretary General of the African Union and the Secretaries General of international and regional organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, it gives me great pleasure on this occasion, i.e. the convening of this conference in London on Somalia. We would like to express our deep appreciation and thanks to the United Kingdom, its people, for hosting this conference, which is being held in the British capital. And the aim is to find a permanent and comprehensive solution to this tenacious problem of Somalia. Yes, we are going to look at all the aspects of the Somali problem. And at the same time, we would like to say, in front of all of you, ladies and gentlemen, who represent all countries in the world and international and regional organizations, all of you who have exerted every effort, every sincere effort, so that you could put an end to the suffering of the Somali people. We would like to say to all of them that we indeed appreciate this wonderful effort that you have exerted, this care, this humanitarian feeling, which has been so manifest in your people, intergovernmental organizations, and non-governmental, as far as the Somali question is concerned. Mr. Chairman, now that I have expressed our appreciation and thanks to everybody who gave so much to the Somali people, who sympathized with our people during the years of collapse, or shed tears, whether from his eyes or his heart, and wanted to have a solution for the Somali problem, or sent his young in order to help the Somali people. We would like to reassure you all of you who have sympathized with us, that we have come here to thank you first, and then to tell you that, yes, indeed, there is some hope that the results from this conference are going to be and play a big role in giving us this hope in our country. The Somali people are looking at you all at this conference, having suffered for so many long years. We hope that there will be recommendations and resolutions which will lead us to optimism so that we can contain this problem and will have the modalities to find a solution to this problem. Ladies and gentlemen, the people of Somalia, together with the transitional federal government, its regional organizations and its branches, all of them look to the restoration of peace and security, irrespective of the modalities that we might have. This is the common aim, which is agreed to by all, i.e. the restoration of peace and security, putting an end to violence, and to have a comprehensive and permanent peace so that we can fight extremism, we can fight terrorism, and restore social services and the infrastructure to all parts of Somalia, as well as a return of governance and the implementation of the roadmap. The TFG is the only representative which has the support of international and Somali support. It has done from the very first aspect to re-entrench and enforce this aim. And therefore, it asked all the Somali elements to negotiate, to preserve the integrity of the homeland, and to have its security, as well as to have a permanent constitution which will put an end to the transitional phase and lead to one national government which will reject terrorism, which will have the necessary free markets as well as complete transparency, and to build its constitutional bodies which will benefit all the Somali people. Mr. Chairman, the Somali government during the past few years has indeed gone into this process of national settlement. And we are using everything in our effort, including having a roving ambassador who is going to try and have this system of reconciliation between all the different parties in Somalia. The government also has exerted every effort so that we can have the necessary elements so that we can indeed re-entrench and implement what is written in our national constitution, reconciliation on national level, and the return of peace and security to our land, as well as good governance and having a permanent constitution which is currently under study. And also, in order to be ready for the phase after the 20th of August of this year, we had taken some initial steps, the most important of which was the convening of conferences and meetings, all of which looked at the modalities which would be suitable for the next phase. As a consequence of those conventions, the last of which was the Garowe Consultative Conference, which agreed on the number of parliamentary representatives to 225, which will be chosen by a committee of 1,000 people, of the leaders in Somal, as well as the leaders of the tribes, the educated, and women. And all of this together with a Senate whose members will be no more than 45 members. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, today we're looking for security. We are scared of tomorrow. We are scared of tomorrow. Of course, we always look to the past behind us so that we can see what is being hidden. We want to see what lies in the future. We want to know, what about all those resolutions, all those hopes in the past which never saw the light of day and which remain as mere words on pieces of paper? What about those things that we have agreed on? What we want is a restoration of optimism, something to look forward to, something to hope for, and which will take away from memories, horrendous memories of the past, and what wars have left within our hearts, within our minds, i.e., what human beings are capable of committing and what human beings are capable of achieving at one time. All of this has to be taken into careful consideration, and especially when we know the chaos and the terror which have led to the death of thousands and thousands of Somalis. Yes, there was a complete destruction of all that is dear. All those questionings, all these feelings of sorrow, then nothing is going to be of any use if we are not going to find a solution. Before this disease becomes endemic, before it becomes terminal and affects every single vein within the body of the international community, we have to look at the 5 axes, which I'm going to discuss here. First of all, we want to look at the political axis. First, there must be a continuation and international support for the TFG so that it can indeed appoint a permanent authority which will take the place of the transitional authority now. First of all, we have to put to an end all the disagreements within Somalia so that we can go back to agreement, to reconciliation, so that we can have stability and peace and the unity of our lands. All of this means that we must implement the resolutions which have been agreed to. Of course, the leadership and the representation of the leadership here in Somalia at this conference is a very apt opportunity to find a solution which will be agreed to by all the different parties. We do indeed hope that we are going to have restore peace and security. Fourth, the Somali people and its expectations from this London conference is to have new ideas, new modalities, which will be in keeping with all that is good for the Somali people, which wants to see peace and security, and which shall not be out of step with all our religious and political beliefs. Also, we have to rebuild those bridges of love and affection between the people, the Somali people. There must be a process of national reconciliation so that we can go back to the question of harmony between all our people and put an end to violence and death. Sixth, we have to give a push forward to establishing the local councils. And seven, we have to implement and develop the roadmap as well as to strengthen our national institutions. The second axis is the security, and I believe this is one of the most important, so that we can indeed restore peace and security, and it's represented in the following points. First, we have to reinforce our security forces. We have to give them the necessary equipment and give them the training, whether that be inside or outside the country, so that it can indeed fulfill its responsibilities. Second, we must have a judicial and a legal framework which knows what the law is about, which is capable of enforcing peace and justice in the world, in our country. The third, the invitation by the Security Council to remove the embargo now imposed on Saddam, the embargo of arms. You know what we are suffering from international terrorism, which is represented by Al-Shabaab. And lately, it said that it's going to adhere to Al-Qaeda, according to the spokesman on behalf of Shabaab. And he was supported by Ayman al-Zawahiri, who at the moment is the leader of Al-Qaeda. All of this means there must be an end to this embargo. Fourth, the armed forces must be helped so that they can fulfill their responsibilities. All of this means that we have to import arms, or we have to prepare our people. We believe that there is a great danger, and the aim is to undermine peace and security, whether that be in our country or on the international level. As you know, there is a saying that one match is capable of ruining a whole forest. Fifth, we have to double our efforts so that we can indeed get over the Shabaab phenomenon, because their remaining in our country is a threat to international peace and security. And six, we must put an end to the hemorrhage of Somali blood. The third axis is an effort to recover from the destruction of war. There should be more international efforts according to a full study so that we can build the new Somalia. And we have to look into the following. First, we have to improve the security situation so that it can go back to normalcy. Second, we must give more services. Third, we have to rebuild the infrastructure. And fourth, to rebuild our agriculture and benefit from our fisheries. And five, education and health. The fourth axis is the humanitarian one. Because of the deteriorating situation as a result of the war from the terrorists, as well as a result of drought and famine, which we have suffered from in the past years, the situation, the humanitarian situation in Somalia is very bad. But the humanitarian aid which has been given by the international community, as well as the rain season previously, has played a primordial role in lessening the suffering. But our people are still suffering and will suffer for many years. Of course, famine is still with us today, because everybody who has suffered from this famine is still in camps, is still depending on the food gifts that are coming from all over the world, and all the efforts that are being exerted by the Somali government have not been enough so that those people can go back to their areas. So we have to increase this humanitarian aid, and we would plead again with the international community that it should give more humanitarian help until we get rid of this nightmare and until those people go back to their countries. And here, we would like to express our great gratitude to all the efforts that have been exerted, but we have to specially mention the names of some leaders, of some governments who have come and visited our camps. We saw them weep because of the suffering that they saw with their own eyes. Amongst whom His Excellency Ismail Omar Gela, the President of Djibouti, His Excellency Bori Museveni, the President of Uganda, and also the Prime Minister Erdogan, the Prime Minister of Turkey, as well as the Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, and the Secretary General of the African Union, as well as everybody who shared our sorrow. Now, the fifth axis is to combat piracy. We believe that this phenomenon of currency is nothing new. In fact, it was born more than 140 years ago in the Caribbean, and it has to be fought and condemned, but not with the same modalities that we used 140 years ago. We know that the phenomenon of piracy in our country is something that has not been studied enough, and therefore, all the efforts that have been exerted in order to make sure that at least Somalia will have peace meant that we have not taken a close enough look at this phenomenon of piracy in our country. At the same time, we would like to thank all the countries which have been involved in combating piracy on our shores. But I believe that perhaps we can look at other modalities. We know that piracy is something that everybody wants to from amongst the Shabiba. We all know that the pirates today gain billions and billions of dollars. At the same time, we have spent billions and billions to combat piracy. But until now, we have not really had a good enough return to what we have spent in combating terrorism on our soils. We can eradicate, and we have eradicated the phenomenon of piracy, but only for a limited time. So, in order to make sure that we do find permanent solutions, we have to support all parts of Somalia and support the government in that. The most important premise is to find opportunities of labor for our young, especially in the field of fisheries. All of this is going to reap its benefits in so many ways. This will mean that everybody who has no employment now will have this opportunity to live in dignity and peace. Fourth, the respect of the Somali laws, those laws which are calling for bringing our Somali citizens to our courts. We have to bring everybody who was responsible for those crimes in front of our own courts and to be sent to our own prisons. Finally, we would like to reiterate our thanks and appreciation to the government of Great Britain and David Cameron, the Prime Minister of Great Britain. We would like to thank Great Britain for all those efforts exerted in order to ensure a complete success of this conference. We salute Her Majesty the Queen and the British people, and we would like to express our thanks and gratitude to all the delegates who are represented here, be they delegations or organizations. And we hope that we're going to have every success, and thank you very much.